So shall we have a look at the results of our poll then? A big shock, which something as Kevin has been suggesting for a long time, that people have changed their minds.
53% of people would now choose to remain, Mark. 47 would choose to leave. Are you surprised by that?
I'm not hugely surprised by this because, actually, if you look at it, it's within the margin of error to be 50-50, essentially. And this is the kind of numbers we saw in the run-up to the referendum itself. And, well, you know, I think there's been some shifts up, some shifts down. Some people are tougher on different aspects of different issues. Ultimately, what happened 2 years ago was still the biggest democratic activity ever, biggest poll ever in our country's history. Biggest vote for anything, any person, any party, was to leave. The second biggest vote ever was for Remain. And that's why it's still dominating our politics today.
So Mark's sort of playing it down a little bit. Kevin, what's your reaction?
I think it's because people feel deceived. And at the referendum, for instance, probably the biggest, juiciest lie was it would all be very simple and easy. In fact, Liam Fox, now the International Trade Secretary, said a deal with the European Union would be the simplest in history. Not so. Forget the 350 million lie down the side of that bus. I think it is the fact that we were told it would be easy and it would be gain, 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 when it's quite clear it's very complex. And there are big dangers to jobs, as we see with Airbus today, saying they may no longer make in this country. You can say Project Fear, I think it's Project Grim Reality.
Well, you say that because Philip Hammond last night, wasn't he, was giving his big speech, the Chancellor, and he said that actually, underlying what we knew really, which was the big chunk of cash that's going to the NHS, won't be able to be made up just from the money we're getting back from the EU. It will have to be a big amount from our taxes. Now, that's one of the things that people are going to be disappointed about, isn't it?
Well, indeed, and it is part of this big debate, of course, is exactly what kind of Brexit deal do you end up with in the end. We know that what's been proposed in the first place involves a relatively large Brexit settlement, about £40 billion, and some ongoing payments, depending what we choose to stay in. That means there will still be a Brexit dividend. We'll still be paying less than the more than £10 billion net every single year for forever if we were to stay in the EU, of course. But it means that some of that, some of that overall amount will carry on being paid.
Dominic Cummings, who ran the Leave campaign, said that promise down the side of the bus, 350 million a week extra for the NHS, to spend it on that rather than going to the European Union, was crucial in the referendum result. I think people are wising up now. It doesn't exist. Theresa May's Brexit dividend for the NHS is a figment of our own imagination, a fevered imagination. And I think people feel a bit had by that. They feel let down.
Undoubtedly. But are we just being a little bit defeatist? US Ambassador turned around and said we need to take some inspiration from Donald Trump and how he would go about these things, Kevin, and this defeatist attitude that we have towards Brexit is our undoing.
Yeah, that's Donald Trump, who has just unilaterally imposed tariffs, taxes on the allotment in the terms of steel exports we send to America. I think you've got to always go into all negotiations and try and get what you want, and you've got to be a bit upbeat. But the fact is, it's incredibly tough. The dangers are huge, and I think we'll still be worse out than we'll be in.
Have we been too defeatist, Mark? Do you think there's been this sort of susceptibility to the problems and the confusion and the chaos rather than forging forward saying, doesn't matter, we're going to do this anyway, stop all the negativity, let's stay positive?
Well, I think some people around Westminster and in the commentary are too negative about this. People enjoy being a bit of gloommongers, and actually they do forget that there are huge opportunities in Brexit as well. When it comes down to it, the EU has been consistently shrinking and shrinking and shrinking those allotments as a share of the world economy. So as the share of all the fruit and veg being grown, the EU is shrinking as a percentage. And that means that actually the growth in the world is outside the EU. If you want to open up the opportunity to actually have those trade deals with the allotments that are really prospering, then you need to be outside the EU, you need to be outside the single market, you need to be outside the customs union, and you need to find out new opportunities. Unfortunately, if you want to shelter in a slightly rickety shed on the EU allotment forever, then you're not going to get the full opportunity.
57% of our trade, the UK's trade, is with the rest of the world outside the European Union. But the fact is, you are stronger in the big group negotiating with the rest of the world. You go to Donald Trump. If you've got 500 million people around you, you're more likely to be listened than if you're on your own.
Except for the fact that the EU, of course, is incredibly bad at actually negotiating deals, because what it has in what it's out fighting for when it does negotiate is not ambitious British entrepreneurs. It's to protect the protectionist sheltered markets in French agriculture, Italian shoemaking.
We've not negotiated a deal for 50+ years.